And welcome back to the Hot Lap. The Daniel Ricciardo, Red Bull, Marko, Christian Horner, bad exit. What are you going to do? Can you get another drive, etc.? Is clearly not over. And this is why. Well, apparently, Marko wanted Ricciardo out after the Spanish Grand Prix, reveals Horner. This was on, I think, the F1 Nation podcast, and Christian Horner, he sheds more light on Ricciardo's exit. So, Marko, understandably, he's quite savage with his, not only his young driver program, but full stop. And that's something that Christian Horner revealed on the podcast. So, Ricciardo's F1 career, as we know, appears to be over after Singapore. It brings here to an end what was one of the most successful careers for an Australian driver not to win a championship. Alan Jones being the most successful, and then Mark Webber, Daniel Ricciardo. I guess you could have your arguments who was better. But while there's been some criticism, a lot of criticism, let's be fair, aimed at Red Bull, for not allowing Ricciardo to see out the season, and also the way Daniel Ricciardo was exited essentially from the sport, Christian's offered some fresh insight into that. Now, he was speaking on the F1 Nation podcast in the wake of this whole RB driver shuffle. Once again, congratulations, Liam Lawson. Horner said that Ricciardo's exit had been triggered by a lack of consistency that had already tested Marko's patience earlier in the campaign. He said he started the season roughly, and then Miami was a weekend of two halves. The Friday and Saturday morning was fantastic, and it looked like the Daniel of old defending against the Ferraris and outdriving the car. Yes, thumbs up for that Daniel, that did look good. However, then came Saturday afternoon and Sunday, and it was disastrous. So, even around Barcelona, Helmut wanted him out of the car, and there was already a lot of pressure on him there. By the time he got to Montreal, it was actually dear old Jacques Villeneuve who got him properly wound up by giving him a hard time, as you remember. And it definitely fired him up, because the way he drove the car that weekend, he grabbed it by the scruff of the neck and put together a very strong race weekend. So I did say to Daniel, give Jacques a call every Grand Prix for the rest of the year, because whatever he said, it definitely worked, and he did. I mean, that was a really solid weekend for Daniel Ricciardo. Horner said Ricciardo's fate was effectively sealed by him not hitting peaks of form that his bosses wanted. And here we go. Although Perez's repeated frustrations left his position in doubt, Ricciardo never did enough to be an automatic candidate. I get that. But Perez, let's be fair, I mean, it's like a stuck record now. Perez never did enough to justifying his place in the Red Bull senior team, in our opinion. But Horner added, I've done my very best to buy him as much time in the car to allow him to deliver. Otherwise, he would have been out of the car after Barcelona. All the drivers are under pressure to deliver, but the reason Daniel was in that car was to get himself back into the position to ultimately be there to pick up the pieces if Checo didn't deliver. Checo didn't deliver, but the argument being, so Daniel Ricciardo didn't either. Now, let's rewind all the way back to Spain. And this is from Planet F1 again. Daniel's forward message rediscovered after this whole Helmut Marko axing revelation. So, and it says here, suddenly the handwritten message on the helmet of Daniel Ricciardo in Barcelona makes sense after Horner's shock reveal that Marko wanted him gone. With speculation swirling that the Singapore Grand Prix would be Ricciardo's last, he scored the fastest lap. And Daniel Ricciardo not without a fight. That was a message directly to Helmut Marko. So, Red Bull boss Christian Horner has now claimed, as you just heard, that Marko wanted him gone. Even around Barcelona, he said he did his best to help him, as we know. And here we go. Not without a fight. That's what Will Buxton put. Daniel Ricciardo's handwritten motivation on his helmet this weekend. Not without a fight. And you could say that it was a helmet for helmet. Very good, very good, very good. Ricciardo was quizzed on that Spanish Grand Prix helmet message previously by Sky F1 at the time. The 8-time race winner asked whether that sums it up, as Marko had already begun the Lawson V-car promotion talk. Ricciardo had written the forward note to himself after Monaco, which found its way onto his Spanish Grand Prix helmet. He said, actually, I wrote it after the race in Monaco. Ricciardo replied, I got back to my room, and Monaco was a little bit of a down weekend. I felt a little bit better after the race in terms of moving forward. So it was just something I wrote, and I was like, okay, I'll write it. This is just a memory for me, and I'll put it in the driver room. And then actually, when I saw it there last weekend, I was like, oh, I remember this. Sometimes sometimes I like some little personal message to myself, and I think that's it. Well, I think that was Daniel Ricciardo being kind, don't you? But here's the other shock thing. Horner has offered Ricciardo a new Red Bull role, and shock F1 return sparks debate. Now, I don't think Daniel Ricciardo is going to return personally, but you never know. So Red Bull have made it very clear, Daniel Ricciardo, that they want him to become an ambassador, but it was Horner's tease of an F1 return for the axed Aussie that's caused some confusion. Increased speculation followed Daniel Ricciardo into and throughout the Singapore Grand Prix. As we know, it was his final race. However, when appearing on the F1 Nation podcast, host Tom Clarkson and Damon Hill debating after he appeared to suggest that Ricciardo could yet make another F1 comeback if Lawson or Verstappen's current teammate Perez couldn't get the job done. Asked how much Formula 1 will miss Ricciardo, Horner said, hugely. Absolutely, I think it will. He said, Daniel is just a brilliant character. He's a brilliant human being. He lights up a room when he walks into it. You know, he's got that infectious smile. We never did manage to do a toothpaste deal with him. We tried very hard. But I hope he stays around the sport, and we made it clear that we want him to remain in an ambassador capacity with the team. And of course, no one, here we go. And this is the thing that's going to confuse a few people. Well done, Christian, rightly or wrongly. And of course, one never knows. If Liam doesn't get the job done, if Checo doesn't get the job done, he laughs, because he knows that Checo is not getting the job done, I imagine, hence the laugh. We know that what Daniel's capability is, but I think for him, he knows at that age he's at, he's had a great career, many memories. The most disgusting thing ever was drinking champagne out of his sweaty boot, but he made it on his own. Yeah, and I think that's by the by, really. That kind of like sums it up, in a sense, if you get my drift. So, Daniel Ricciardo. Helmut Marko wanted Daniel Ricciardo gone. Yes, he's quite savage. He wasn't great in Monaco. He did okay in Spain. I can understand why the pressure was on and that he wanted him gone. But I can't help but feel that, once again, it's Red Bull being really savage. And what's interesting about this, it's Helmut Marko and Christian Horner not being on that same page. And that's the issue. They're not on the same page. This was the same thing that happened at the beginning of the year. You had the Austrian side, the Thai side, all getting upset with each other. Is it happening again? I feel that they're more together than they were at the beginning of the year. But still, it's a shame that they could, once again, it's still a shame that they didn't give Danny Ricciardo the send-off he so rightly deserved. And Helmut Marko, if anyone should retire, should it be Helmut Marko? Yes, maybe. Should the Red Bull bosses think, yeah, Helmut Marko? This guy has caused so many headaches for Red Bull. He's, in terms of the media, even your F1 YouTubers like myself, he's great. He's great for stories. Absolutely he is. He's definitely not a boring character. But in terms of Red Bull as a professional organisation, he should have been gone on potentially long ago. He is a liability, I think, at this stage. But there we go. Helmut Marko. If you liked what you see, please give us a subscribe. Hit that notification button so you do not miss a video. And we will, no doubt, speak to you soon, and stay safe.